Hi, good morning. Dr. Ruth Anderson here with day 25 of the Enlightened Women, Enlightened You Summit. And I'm so excited actually to share with you that the summit is going strong. We have over 570 members, and every video that's coming up is equally amazing as the videos before. So stay with us. This is so rich. We're not done growing. We're not done learning or sharing with each other. So hang in there with us. Today, I'm delighted to have Karen D. Anderson with us. She is joining us. She's not actually in San Francisco, although it looks like she is. Karen, do you want to come on and say hello?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm so honored to be here and be a part of this wonderful family that is just expanding. It's fantastic.
Thank you. And we've got Deb Goldberg, who's going to be doing the intention with us. But before we get started, Archangel Michael is very invested in the conversation that we're having today. And he wanted me to remind you of a couple of things before we even get started with the video. He wanted me to share that our greatest growth comes when we're in the trenches, not when we're in those moments of kumbaya. Even though it's more comfortable being in that place of connectedness and the awe and the awe, if you understand what I'm saying. It's much more comfortable being there, but really that isn't where our growth is. And what he also wanted us to remember is that when we are being viewed by the spiritual divinity, even when we're in those places of difficulty, that they don't judge us. They only see us with love and compassion and empathy. So just remember that we're not being judged. If anybody's judging us, it's us. So what else did they want us to say? I think that's it for right now. So Deb, do you want to share with us your intention for our day?
I'd love to. Hi, everybody, and welcome. And maybe we can close our eyes and put your hand on your heart and take a really deep breath. Our intention today is feeling the love and warmth of Archangel Michael and Divine Mother as they hold a space of love, joy, and light as we each allow our vulnerability to transform us into our highest. God reminds us that although at times we might find ourselves insecure without a home, well-being, money, food, friends, or family, you are always at home with me, wrapped in the loving arms of angels for eternity, where all is well and love fills every void you can imagine. Your scars, guilt, and shame are erased across all time. You are pure and innocent always. All trials and tribulations no longer are but a memory. Remember, you are never alone in the light or dark, for I walk with you in all trials, waiting for you to notice me, so joy can replace every burden in your mind and heart. I love you. You are my beloved, God.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's listen to what Karen Anderson has to share with us today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson, here with Enlightened World Network. Welcome to this episode of Enlightened Women. Grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, settle in, and join us. Enlightened Women is a show about women who are consciously awake and choosing to fully embrace life. These are real women living real lives while walking in spirit. Even though we're walking with spirit, sometimes we're wading our way through a dark night of the soul. Our guest today is Karen Anderson, a beautiful soul who has recently experienced her own dark night of the soul. Karen is a spiritual intuitive and angelic channel who could hear the voice of the angels and spirit from childhood. Karen longs to assist everyone along their path in achieving their highest spiritual destiny and divine life's purpose. Welcome, Karen.
Hello, Ruth. Thank you for having me today.
I am thrilled that you're here. So, Karen, we're just going to jump in here. I know that you have experienced your own dark night of the soul, even though you walk so tightly with spirit. And yet here you were in the throes of the dark night of the soul. Can you talk to us a little bit about what happened?
Oh, goodness. Well, to explain the dark night of the soul was more of an awakening to me. The first time it happened was in 1997, and it was where I reconnected literally to the angelic realm. And what had happened is I had all this fear from my upbringing and all this fear about connecting to a disembodied voice, that it would be something of a dark nature. So I had all this with me, as well as I knew that there was love and light and vibration. So there was this like tug of war, you know, who was really speaking to me? And in 1997, I had a moment where I had an encounter with the angelic kingdom, where I saw the sky full of angels, and it was a really dark, dark time for me, where my home literally was invaded, if you will, by a lot of, we'll say, lower vibrational thinking. I had purchased an angel board, and I thought, oh, it's an angel board, it'll be safe. Yeah, they're safe, but the idea is that, you know, where's your energy? What are you vibrating at? I wasn't too sure about that, what that meant. And Michael of God would say, stop and meditate. You need to go in within and to be able to connect. And I thought, I'm hearing you now. Why would I stop? And I've heard you all my life. This is exciting, and I see it happening out from this planchette on this angel board. Well, it invited in a lot of matching pictures that felt fear. And what it did was, for me, these were teachers to me. The darkness or the shadow self is what I've learned. That we all here on this planet, those that are embodied and those that aren't, have that extra added, if you will, shadow. If you stand, when my kids were little, they would stand and they'd say, somebody's following me, Mommy. I said, that's just your shadow, sweetheart. I can't get away from it. No, you're not supposed to. It's your friend. It'll always be with you. Well, these are the things that kind of happened to me when I had this dark night of the soul, these shadowy energies or these shadowy beings that I allowed in, because I opened with my own fear and I was told to meditate. They taught me there's really nothing to fear, really. And it's the same kind of thing now, years later. Now we're in 2019, walking through a second dark night of the soul, where it isn't perhaps to the flavor of what I had in 1997, but it's still the same with that dreaded fear, that dread, that feeling of being all alone, feeling like that shame, that what have I done wrong? What have I done against myself or against others, to put myself in a place where I have no money, I have no job, I have no food. And in 1997, I had no clarity, I had no understanding, and I was scared. So I felt very much alone because I could hear everything. So what I've been learning is the shadow aspect of myself, which we all have, can be at times quite a teacher in bringing up old layers. And what I mean by layers is all layered memory, all cellular from either another life or this life. And we layer things over and over and over and over and over. And the intention for us to evolve is to let go of those old paradigms, those old fears, those old ways, the old energy, and to not rebuild, but to kind of regenerate. And so the only way to do that is sometimes, the only best way, through something is to literally go right through it. Can't go around it, can't scale over it, you got to go through it. And I've learned in this moment that shame and a sense of self-hatred was a big active emotion in my body. Huge. So much so that it started affecting my physical body, my stomach. I couldn't stand things. I couldn't, my stomach couldn't take it. I couldn't digest this, couldn't digest that. And it's been a very interesting 2019 to say the least.
So, Karen, your words, you felt all alone, you felt shame,
Yeah.
and you felt self-hatred.
Oh, yeah.
The combination of those three things are kind of deadly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could see that a person could just absolutely spiral right down into that and stay stuck there for a while. How did you claw your way up? Because I know for you were clawing your way up. How did you do that?
I think and that's a great question, Ruth. Now that you're down the rabbit hole, how do you get out, right? And so I said to myself, we're in another rabbit hole years later. And I thought, this feels familiar. A little different storyline, but feels very familiar. How do I get out of this now? The last time took me to a literal 5150 hold, because I thought I was losing my mind. Actually, I was just reopening up my clairaudience. This time, it's taken me to different places to live and even in a shelter. And the idea of getting to that point brought that shame. How did I go down so far as a spiritual teacher, as somebody who can hear angels and guides? And I thought, this must be for something. Just like the last time, there must be something here, because there are no victims in life. There are choices, certain vibrations you match up with to learn and to teach, and learn and teach sometimes at the same time. You're student and teacher at the same time. So what I began to do is, as Michael said to me many, many years ago, is to go within and do more of an in-depth meditation. And it wasn't a meditation just to get ready for a client or a mentoring student. It was for me, once in my life. For once in my life, it was only for me. And so the first time, I meditated, I felt like this little tiny child, this little girl that just wanted to do right and felt that it had been taken to the principal's office. And I just want to set the record straight. And all I kept hearing was, "You are so loved. You are so loved. You are so loved," over and over. And I couldn't feel it. I couldn't let myself. Because after all, here I'm a spiritual teacher. I can hear angels. I can hear loved ones that have crossed over and have brought so many amazing messages of love, hope, and healing to so many people. Where are mine? And so, like before, in 1997, I had to learn to stop and go inside. And the practices that I did prior worked then. And as we evolve, our energy shifts and our changes, but so does our planet, and so do the practices. I understood that when something is brought through, it's created in that moment of consciousness, and it stays in state. But we grow. Sometimes we can outgrow things, and there's nothing right, wrong, good, or bad. But what I have been utilizing as my tool set, for me, I'd outgrown. And so I had to learn over these last 3 months how to kind of not, as I was saying to you, is not reinvent, but kind of rejuvenate, kind of go back in and say to myself, okay, I'm in this rabbit hole. I came here for a reason. I've done this not as did this to myself. I've made choices along the way that created this. Did I unconsciously create? More than likely. But now I'm conscious of where I am and what I like. And what I thought was, I heard is that I've been so dependent upon so many other people in my life for emotion, for finances, for safety, for security. And at any given moment, I always say this death, divorce decision that can leave your life. It happens all day long, every day. And it happened in mine. It was a death of sorts. What I found was in rejuvenating myself, it was, how can I change that shame instead of a woulda, shoulda, coulda into, well, this is what I know now. This is what I'm going to start with now. I know that my intentions fuel the law of attraction. So my intention was to get myself up and out of this hole. But while I was in the hole, I was there too. And I met others that a plethora of experiences in life brought them there. And I was just floored in this place. How many people had the will to continue going, the strength? And I'd lost mine. I was going to stay in that rabbit hole. I didn't care if I lived or died. They did. And so in that moment, I became not a teacher, I was a student. By people that didn't even know they were my teacher. They had no clue. But what they told me is, don't ever give up, that your worth is so valuable. It doesn't come in money or clients or things. It's a feeling inside. I'd forgotten that. I'd been buried so deep and so lost that I'd forgotten that. So during the last 2 months now, I have been literally in a home that's being renovated. And so I thought, how big of a picture is this? I'm renovating myself. I'm rebuilding. I'm tearing down the old, putting up the new. And the home that I'm in is doing the exact same thing. And you just can't make this stuff up, Ruth. This is just so phenomenal. And I said, I would really like to rejuvenate myself. I want to let go of the old things and bring in the new things. And shortly after I said that, this friend of mine reached out to me and said, I'm redoing my home, but you're more than welcome to come and stay. And so what's going on the inside is actually being shown to me literally physically happening on the outside of this home. So I know it's a work in progress. It's not something that's built in a day, but I can see within myself and in this home small changes, a new feel. Like when I left the place I was staying at and came to this home, there was such a weight that was lifted off of my body that I could breathe. I could actually breathe. And when they ripped out the carpet out of this place that I'm in, my friend said, oh, I can breathe. I feel like I can breathe. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. So something in her home was actually having her feel a little, claustrophobic or what have you. So it's such a divine thread that goes through in everyone's life, how the changes are subtle, but they will bring forth a shift. And that's what I feel, how I've been able to maneuver through it. It isn't going from this to that. It's too big of a gap. Like I can't go from complete despair to euphoria. There's too much space in between. So I have to step myself up. And I know that I'm going through this because I am someone that if I'm going to teach something or share something, I got to live it. I got to walk it. I got to breathe it. I have to be there. I can't just say, oh, try this, read that. This person, I got to experience it for myself. And I am. But I have to tell you that so much epiphanies and so many layers of myself have come forward that I never thought, or I never thought I had, or I'd forgotten I had. It's quite interesting.
Karen, you said something brilliant about embracing your shadow side. And I know that there are some light workers that just don't even want to consider that there's a shadow side. But you and I, through Archangel Michael, have learned that yes, there is a shadow side, and we really need to see it and embrace it, because only in that embracing of it do we really see the entire range of what life has to offer, either for us as a person or out in society. You had also said you had struggled with the I would have, could have, should have.
Mm-hmm.
Do those, when we get stuck in those would have, could have, should have, does that kind of keep us thrust into that shadow side and unable to see the light and move forward?
It sure, I would imagine that it gives it some fuel. I would. But the woulda, shouldas, and couldas all come with judgment. And to me, the universe doesn't judge. There's no judgment whatsoever. Whatever you desire to experience, it's within your reach. Whether it's a most blessed life or one with struggle or something in between. There is no, well, you shouldn't have done that. That's more the earth, I feel. That comes from the mindset of the human mind. But even in the human mind and the activity of the ego, which I call edging God out, the ego, it can give you those clarity moments where spirit will bypass that. You know, your highest knowing will just slide on past that. And it comes in those moments of complete stillness and quiet. I can hear more in a quiet room, in a quiet space, than in a crowd most often. And it's hard to explain, but if you've had that experience, then you'll know what I'm talking about, that you shut off outside and just go within. I used to do this when I was a little girl. We met to throw the keys in the swimming pool every summer. We'd go and learn swimming. We have to dive down in the deep end. As we got older, it got deeper and deeper and deeper. But we'd have to dive down into the deep end to get the keys to go home. So somebody had to go there. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in and give it my best shot. And I remember diving down, and I loved it. I loved being in the water. Everything shut out. I could hear my heartbeat. I could hear the blood rushing through my veins. I could hear the beautiful, like, music of my breath. And I wanted to stay down in the water. That's kind of how, when you go in, how that feels. You just shut out everything. So your shadow is a distraction, yes. But I do believe, just like here on planet, when the light shines, you have a shadow. So the noonday sun, you will have a shadow. You're not going to run from it. It's there. So why not embrace it and say, this is part of me. This is a choice. This is a choice. I can live in my fear, like I had been for those 3 months, or I can live in love, which I know that there is no lack. There is no struggle. There is no without. Everything I need, I can self-generate and create. I don't have to rely on anyone. Many, many years ago, I came across a book, and maybe some of your listeners, or maybe you know of this book from, and I just feel she just came in the room, actually. The room lit up. Debbie Ford, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. And she spoke about how a lot of light workers don't want to even look at their dark side. But this is a necessary thing, because if you don't honor it, it's like a spoiled child. If you don't give it an attention for a voice, you know, it feels, it will continue more and more and more and more until it burps up on you. And so that's what happened with me, you know, in not paying attention to my shadow side. Oh, that's not right. That's not loving. That's not this. But feel what you feel. See it, recognize it, but do you want to stay there in that feeling? Now there's that choice. And if you stay there in that feeling, you're making that choice, not because someone's forcing you to, it's because maybe it's a pattern, or maybe it's something you've learned from society or parents or what have you. But in that moment, you have the choice to say, I choose to feel different. And the minute you do that, you start vibrating different. And so the shadow can be such an alert for you and where your feelings are. Are you operating from love or operating from fear? And again, here on this third plane of life, or the 3D living, it is polarity. You're not getting away from the shadow. You know, it's how you play the game of life, how you work that side of yourself. You know, the old Native American proverb or story about the two wolves inside you, you know, the light and the dark wolf. Which one do you feed is the one that will be the most loud. Which one do you choose? Well, it's the one you feed. And so at moments we will feed the darker one. And it's okay, but don't stay there. Because it takes more energy for us to feel that shadow energy or cloaking our light. It's more energy because we're going against our natural grain. We're literally like a cork trying to, you ever try to sit on a ball in the ocean or in a swimming pool? How it pops up? Same thing. Your light will pop up. You can't hold it down for long. We can try, but it takes a lot more effort. And because it's not our organic natural self. What is our organic natural self? Is light, is frequency, is vibration. And if you tune into that, whatever it is, that feels even just a smidge higher, if you're or despair, enragement feels better than that. At least you're feeling something. And then you can start stepping yourself up. And that's how you get out of the rabbit hole. At least that's how I have.
I love when you said, I choose to feel differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good reminder that every minute we have opportunities to choose how we want to feel or choose how we want to respond. And
exactly.
One of my favorite sayings is, you don't have to believe what you think.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, that lit up the room. I love when the angels get excited about our expanded. They just get so excited that they just like, I can just see their wings start or whatever, and they just like, they what I call plug into the electricity, and they just make the room a lot brighter. They loved what you said. It's so profound, so profound. For me, I chose, and it rings true to me very much, and to them as well.
Karen, some of our listeners are living paycheck to paycheck and don't know where their next meal is coming from, may not know where they're going to be spending the night tonight. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice to those folks?
The one thing that if I could share, you're not alone. You're not. And what I mean by that, not only are you spiritually not alone, but there are people in the world that source, spirit, angels, guides can inspire, vibrate your direction. And I'm more of a giver than I am a receiver. And so I'm learning to allow to have people give to me. And it's hard, very hard, without me saying, oh, I'm so sorry, but it's come to the point where I need your help. Can you help me? And they think I had to go down so, sometimes you got to fall apart to come together. And I had to go down that low where I thought, I don't know how to fend for me or to take care of me. I'm going to have to ask for outside help. I'm not saying this fits for everyone, but you know, the law of free will is pretty stoically staunch. You will get and you will have, but you must ask. Ask, believe, receive. So if you are not knowing where your money or place to be is, that the Creator knows, the universe knows, Source knows, and they can guide and direct you like they did to me. I didn't know where to go. And they guided and directed me. And then even more to now my friend's home where I'm living a remodel that I'm doing on the inside and showing on the outside. I mean, how fun is that? That's a whole book in itself. I just feel that people who are in this boat, please know you're not alone. There is so much hope in the world. There are so many people who would love to do God's service. They just don't know where to go. They don't know where to do it. They don't know where it would really make a difference. But Creator does, the angels do. And so asking, where can I go that I can receive the most profound help or the most profound assistance for myself and others? And for me, it was not my children, they're grown and on their own, but it was my little doggie. And all of a sudden, when I got out of the way of myself things started to kind of naturally unfold. Now, the paycheck to paycheck, I understand that because the vibration of living costs, the vibration of receiving isn't in alignment. In fact, it slips and slips every year. So people come to me all the time and they ask me, should I stay in the job I'm in because I can barely make it, or should I try to find a different position? And the first thing that I hear is, you don't feel valued at the job you're at, or you feel like it's not giving you what it once did. And that's kind of what was happening with me with my own way of living, if you will. And so those that are living paycheck to paycheck, I understand that. And it is something that I feel more than you know are going through this. They may be ashamed or embarrassed or not even know how to approach the subject that they need, that this is where they're at. But it's coming to the point where I feel that, transparency is best. And what I mean by this is, to me, I don't judge anyone where they're at. Where you're at's where you're at. And there's no perfect straight line. There isn't. There's a beautiful symbol in spiritual text. I forget the name of it, but I'm going to get a tattoo of it. Actually, my first tattoo, and hearts for my children. But it's the line of a spiritual path. It's crazy. It's all wacky. Sometimes it's off-road and sometimes it's straight. But in those moments where it's off-road, I think that's where we learn the most. We learn that what the will of our soul, or the ability of beyond what we can't see, really steps in because we surrender. So to me, for only me, I had to surrender that concept of I never asked for help, which I was raised with, that old dynamic, that old paradigm with I need help, I desire help, I'm open for help. That was hard. That was really hard, but I'm doing it.
Karen, you said a brilliant line. You were talking and you said, when your spiritual path is off-road.
Yeah.
And I want to challenge that, because I'm wondering if that isn't exactly where you were supposed to be at that time, experiencing exactly what you were supposed to be experiencing. I'm not sure you were off-road at all, but rather smack in the middle of the road, exactly where you were supposed to be.
Oh yeah, I agree, because there are no mistakes. There are no oopses in the universe. I'm coming to find that out quite clearly. I know that from the other side. They'll say, my crossing was not an oops, neither was my birth. My parents think it was, but it was the right timing. But I know that in any given moment, we are led. We are divinely guided. And sometimes, I look at it like this. On the playground, you're going to have kids that go off and do stuff, kind of go over here, and some that stay very orderly and all different kind of things. And then when things get complete chaos, there's that, lunchtime lady that comes and says, okay, everybody, let's get back into remembering and that's how I see spirit. Sometimes I go out, I get cast out pretty far, but I'm always pulled back to center. But while I'm out there bubbling along and floating along, it's opportunities for me to say, okay, so how'd you get here? What brought you here? Who are you meeting? Who's meeting you? And it's an opportunity that I would have never had. I would have never, or opportunities that they possibly wouldn't have had to hear my story about how I got to where I was at. And everyone has a story, and that story is uniquely theirs. No one can say it's right or wrong, good or bad. It's uniquely yours, and it is really, really divinely guided. So off-roading, 4x4ing is exciting. It's a little scary, but you always can get back on the same, not the same, but you can back on the path. I think it's called a unalome, UNALOME. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong, if I'm saying it wrong, but it's this beautiful spiritual symbol. And when I saw it, I thought, that's life. That's life. And there is no one way to live it that's right or wrong, good or bad. So people tell me when they cross over, they say when they look back on their life, it's a split second, faster than a split second, and it is so much love surrounds them as they're looking in moments where they made a choice. That's all. And from that choice, there was a ripple effect of other choices and other opportunities that included other people. And again, it's how would we not know? Once you know, though, you can never not know again. So recreating, I'm not going to put myself in this position again, or maybe I will, but in a different way. The dark night of the soul is a great teacher for me, and I'm not frightened of it anymore. I honor my shadow side. She, as much as I love Ruth, and we love down to our boots, there's a side to us that is the complete opposite, pretty dark. And that's polarity. And it's only, from my understanding, is used here. And why? It's an opportunity to really have that free will. How do you want to play this game? How do you want to work this energy? Where do you want to take this path? You're at the fork. Which way do you want to go? And I utilize this, and when I teach people, is that throughout history, we've had some incredible people here do some amazing and some horrific things. But were they not teachers on both ends of the spectrum? Jesus or Yeshua and his teachings, Hitler and his situations and his teachings, they worked it different ways, but doesn't mean one's right, wrong, good, or bad, or not loved. The same. And it's interesting because we have that polarity within ourselves. I feel we do.
That makes perfect sense to me. And I appreciate you describing that so eloquently, because then other people can embrace that as well. Karen, you help other people to achieve their highest spiritual destiny and understand their divine life's purpose. Tell us about your work and your connection to the angels.
Oh, gosh. I don't know when it all began. I just know when I was very small, I had treasured friends in my room, and they would come through the walls, they would come down through the ceiling. I would spend more time in my room than I would outside of my room. And I just knew that wherever I went, they were with me. It's like I always knew that I had someone with me. I was never alone as a child. And I could hear actual people's thoughts before they spoke. So it was great. I knew when I was in trouble. I knew I'd be called in for dinner. I knew when I'd be chosen in school for an answer, and angels would say, oh, it's 25. It's 25. Well, can you come up and show us how you got to that? No. Well, how do you know it's 25? Well, the angels told me. That goes over well. And over time, I realized that not everyone was having this experience, but I would see these beloved, treasured friends around everyone. They just weren't listening. That's all. And that was, again, no right, wrong, good, or bad. But for me, it was part of, I would say, my jump on life, my beginnings. And as I got older, it got to the point where I want to be cool. So I kind of shut it down. You cannot step away from that which you are. So I couldn't shut off love. I could turn it down, and that I did. I turned it down, but it never left me. And there are 6 times that I could have left this planet, literally. Not sitting here on this moment with you, Ruth, not even have met you, working it from the other side, but something, someone greater than me, greater than the moment, stepped in. And this, I can still feel the feelings if I go back into each individual time, where there was something that I could feel physically. There was a smell of roses, a sweet smell. There was a feeling of warmth and complete peace. And I thought, well, I surrender, because what's going to happen is going to happen. But in that surrender, I actually had choice. I said yes or no, good to stay or go. And so my intention when I work with people is to remind them first and foremost is how beautifully, deliciously loved they are. And secondly is that they have that within them to say yes or no to any experience. No one comes or leaves this planet, from my understanding, unless they say so. And this is even in the most horrific of cases. I was schooled, literally, by a little spirit back in the 80s who I watched on TV that her mother had taken her and her sister's lives. And I went complete into judgment, complete judgment. How dare she? How dare she do such a thing? Don't you know children are a gift from God? There are women that complete judgment. I'd forgotten. I was in my dark shadow. I was in my fear. Later that night, doot, 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 on my shoulder, I want to talk to you, this little girl. And I thought, oh, my stars. And I thought, no, I'm just seeing things. Doot, 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 I want to talk to you. And I said, okay. And my husband said, who are you talking to? I said, well, there's this little girl. He said, never mind. Never mind. No, thanks. I go into the living room and she said, take that back. Take that back what you said about my mother. My mother's a good mother. She did everything we asked her to do. Take it back. And I said, well, you know, what are you talking about? And then it hit me. The children, the mother, she was the middle child. She was obviously a spicy tomato. And she was pretty at me. Yeshua comes in, or Jesus, and Archangel Michael comes in. I thought, okay, this is serious. I'm going to learn here. Because I was pretty much ridiculing this woman, not knowing her situation. We all have a story. This little girl said, you take that back. She's a good mommy. She did everything we asked her to do. I asked her to explain to me what led her to do what she did. She said, we all left when we were supposed to. My mommy didn't kill me. She helped us. I was like, what? This teeny tiny little thing was blowing my mind, teaching me, schooling me. She says, you have forgotten how powerful you are. And I said, I guess I do. And she said, my mommy had my baby sister, and my daddy said she never got happier. It was always sad. She never got any happier. And we worried about her, and you know, she just could never get happy. And she, in her words, did what she did. And you take that back, because my mommy's teaching. Other mommies are going to come out and say, they're sad too. And enough mommies are going to come out and tell there's going to be something done about it. Now you take that back. And she was so insistent. And I said, you know what? I'm very sorry, sweetheart. I said, I'm so sorry. Forgive me for my ignorance. Forgive me for not understanding. And I said, I listened to what you're saying. You know, obviously you've got big guns here in the room with you. What you're saying is truth. And I feel it. And I'll remind others that we are, you know, we have this power within to have any experience. And that there are no victims in truth. Not seeing it on the Earth planet, it doesn't look like a victim situation. And as soon as she said to Jesus, she's got it now, can we go? As a kid would, you know, I'm over this, I gotta go. And she skipped out of the room and into just right through the wall and gone. What I learned was so phenomenal. And I was so afraid to share it until other public eye people came out and started talking about postpartum depression. I said, oh my gosh, that's what that baby was trying to teach me. And here I am ridiculing and saying all this about her mother, and her mother standing as a brave soul, and all these little ones took on a huge lesson, worked in her dark shadow to teach. And this baby came to me, schooling me. So every time I sit with someone and they're really hard on themselves and judging themselves or another, you know, I go back to first and foremost, you're loved. There's so much around you. You can have any choice. You can have anything. And once you remember that, there's a sense of a big crystalline piece of you that locks back in. And I feel like the intention to bring that to people and into myself is an ongoing thing. It's something that people will say, I never thought of it that way. because you will always know what you feel, always. Your clairsentience, your clairempathic, and your clairknowing, your claircognizance will work together because you're sentient energies, and you will feel, then think, then act, experience an outcome. And it took me to literally feel where I was in these past 3 months at a visceral level without judgment. Then that I could finally change the energy. And that's what I try to help people with, no matter what it is.
Karen, if people want to find you to set up a session, how do they find you?
There is a couple of ways, and thank you for asking. You can go to my website, which is karenanderson.com, or I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Spiritual Intuitive, Karen D. Anderson, because there's more than one Karen Anderson that does this work, and we get each other's clients, which is great. You get to meet new people, she gets to meet new people. And also, here's another way, is that put it out there. I would like to talk with someone who understands. I do that in these incredible teachers like you come forward. And you and I have such a harmony of our energies. And there's so much that I get fueled upon from your teachings. And the universe knows, they know. You think about a tapestry, beautiful tapestry. But if you turn that over out of its frame, all these strings, it looks like chaos. But on the front of it, it's an organized, beautiful picture. And that's kind of what it's like. So every string matters. Every string connects. So when people say to me, I don't know how I found you, I have no idea. And I say, oh, yeah, I know how. The universe, there was a need and it was matched. And there's an understanding vibrationally, because either I've been where you're at, or I'm where you're at right now, or it'll come to me and I'll be ready. I never, ever, ever say, I know this or I know that. I always say, I'm ready to learn. And when I say that, I also, when I say I'm ready to learn, I'm ready to learn with ease and grace. Because what you say, let me tell you, words matter, because words vibrate, and you've got to be real clear with the laws of the universe. They don't understand, well, I didn't mean that. They don't understand that. They understand where your intention is. So when people put out that intention, I want to meet someone who really will understand. That happens sometimes. I'm sure it's happened with you, where people say, I don't know how I found you, Ruth, or found your book, or, it's a wonderful, just a wonderful orchestra of everything in alignment. It's beautiful, but those are the places, earthly, how you can get a hold of me.
That's great. Karen, I can't thank you enough for being here with us today and sharing from that vulnerable, open place of, this is what I've been walking through in life. And if I can help and support you while you're walking through it, let me do that. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being with us today.
Okay, great. Let me get out of here so we can talk. There we go. Karen, are you with me?
I sure am. Hi.
What was that like watching you?
Talk about past life.
And that was what, 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
3 months ago, and I could feel it so like it was going on still.
Yeah.
And parts of it is, but I was even learning from myself talking. You know what I'm saying? It was quite, I'm like, wow, I really said that, and it's interesting because as we talk about the dark night of the soul, a lot of people will go right into that vibration of shame. And I believe myself, I've carried shame as a backpack for not only myself, but for others, to help them kind of, work through it, clear it, what have you. But when I surrendered to the idea that this is just part of the process, This is just part of where I'm at, and there's no right or wrong. I'm on this path, and I'm in it because there's a reason. There's a particular opportunity for me to season myself. And what I mean by season is like to really get, as I said on the video, how powerful we really are by our choices. And are you consciously, really honing in on an experience? Or are you kind of just out there flailing? I've been out there flailing a lot. So I've learned how to, as I did when I was a little girl, and when I did when in my first Dark Night of the Soul, to really listen to the voice within. And as I was listening to my voice, I'd had a cold, but it really wasn't a cold. It was all this emotion, these tears. My voice was going out. My voice was raspy, but I think everything was clearing because your body is a last space where the layers of things that we hold or we've experienced come out. So people say, so how are you feeling? And, oh, I'm feeling great. Yeah, but my body doesn't, so there's something going on the inside. And to hear my voice, oh, Ruth, that was so interesting because it's not that way today. I don't hear that raspy, kind of like cut in and out kind of thing. So that was really interesting.
It was interesting for me watching you as well, because it felt to me like the woman that you are today, watching that woman has come further in this amount of time. Yes, you can learn from her.
Yeah.
It just feels like you are coming from this place of strength and this place of
Yes.
learning and
Yes.
living in just those several months.
Exactly. And I love this one quote, and I put it on my Facebook page, I think a couple of days ago. What you're not changing, you're choosing. And so I'm going to say that again to myself. What I wasn't changing, I was choosing. So I was making choice to stay cloaked in a very chaotic, confused state as long as I did. And I'm not saying I'm out and it's sunshiny, and I'm learning to raise out. And how I can do this is I cannot be dependent on anything or anyone, but within. Create it within and then expand it out. And I knew this, but was I living it at that moment? No. So I had to see it play out to recognize and to even hear my voice of where I was really at energetically. And that was really interesting. It really was.
You said some brilliant things on there too. You said, I've got a page of brilliant things that you said, and I could spend unpacking it with you. You said there are no oops in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And where you took it from there was brilliant when you changed it from I'm in this place of shame to, well, this is what I know now.
Yeah. It's as I said, what you will always know what you feel, but it's tuning into those feelings. Most often we don't. We walk around numbing ourselves with distractions. I was. My thing is food. I'm here for the food. Came incarnated for the food. I love me some food. But I also understand it's a distraction. It's also an assistant to lean upon. But the idea is that in those distracted moments, I was so woe is me. And Archangel Michael said to me many, many years ago, do you understand when the human soul says, woe is me? And you all do it. What you are really saying is, whoa, it's me. Whoa, I can shift, change, do whatever I need to do. We need to recognize that whatever we get in, we can get out of, whatever we get out of, we can get back into. And there is no wrong way. There's no wrong way. And I think as the human mind, in this polarity where there's up, down, left, right, good or bad, we kind of compartmentalize what is right or what is wrong. And I was looking at my experience as here I am. I can hear someone else's angels, but am I listening to mine? Am I listening to that divine highest aspect of me that is well within me? No, I wasn't. I really wasn't. Just like I was in 1997. I thought, oh, I can hear you now. I don't need, and we know how that turned out. So it's been such an enlightening, and what I mean by enlighten, there's a light bulb that went off in me, like a thought that, all right, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be victorious. And victimhood, again, is a choice, and you can change that vibrational field to victorious. And today I have to say that things are magnetically coming to me that I never even thought of. I never even, my mind hadn't even conjured up, but there's a higher plan that can now come through because I've let a lot of debris go. And what I mean by debris, letting things that I wasn't changing, I was choosing, I let them go. I had to. It came to the human point that I had to. And I can breathe easier today.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice. Archangel Michael was talking with me this morning about the shadow side of things. And I was shown that the shadow side are those things that keep us from spirit, whether it's ego, whether it's pride, whether it's fear, anger. He even showed me that it could be addictions, and meaning like food addictions or alcohol, technology addiction,
Yeah.
workaholic, drugs for some folks, it's smoking, whatever keeps you from standing and getting goosebumps, whatever it is that keeps you
Me too.
from your own power and strength.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that shadow piece. And those also keep us from being able to reach up and out to spirit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wayne Dyer must have just popped in. He comes in quite often. He said, I'm hearing his words of, if you knew who walked with you every day, you would never worry, wonder, or fear. And in that statement itself is such a testament of that we have such this beautiful force field around us and within us that can eliminate that distraction of fear or pull us out of center and keep us aligned as possible. But this is the game of life, and by pulling us in and out of spectrum or alignment gives us a chance to make a choice. Children are a great teacher of staying in alignment. They get their moods going, believe me, they do, but they don't like how it feels. So a child will come right back to center, will say 5 minutes, I hate you, I don't want to be around you, you're not my best friend. My kids would say, Mommy, I'm leaving. Okay. 5-10 minutes later, I love you so much, Mommy, you're the bestest mommy in the world, because they don't like how it feels. And that's what I think I have forgotten, and many of us, that feeling, like I said, you'll know what you feel. And to stay in that is, it truly is a challenge at times, especially when things are crumbling around you. But things sometimes, at least in my world, had to fall apart so that something new could rebuild. Just like in the home that I was in, where certain floors had to be pulled out and certain things, because everything carries energy. Everything carries a thumbprint of experience. And if it's not cleared, to a degree, if you will, you've got to remove it. And that's what I mean about debris and letting things go.
One of our speakers, I think it was Mira, perhaps, mentioned spiritual compost.
Aha, pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's really good. I'm going to use that. That's a really good concept.
Yep, it is. It's all worthy of being loved is the thing.
Yes.
It's absolutely all worthy of being acknowledged for what it brought to us at that time and fed us at that time, and it just isn't holding anymore. So
Exactly.
It's beautiful. And she also actually went on to say that the spiritual compost is what feeds the growth. It's when you put it on plants, that's what helps it really bloom. So that's awesome. So,
I love that.
yeah, Deb Goldberg, let's hear from you.
Wow. what an amazing, amazing interview, Karen. I just loved listening to your story and all your wisdom. I relate to so much of it. I feel like I'm twins with most of the people on this summit.
Yes.
It's
Me too.
amazing. So we have a lot of people watching. I made a lot of comments about things that you said. Transparency is best. There is no, and that there's no straight line. I think, you know, that's important because we're so used to things moving in a certain way and they don't. And so I thought that was really important. Sue, you talk, finding a way to accept help can be so nurturing. You're doing it. And how much that has played a role in, I guess, in your, where you are right now.
Yes.
And I never liked asking for help either. And it kept me trapped in myself for so long. So everybody watching, that is just such an important thing. And just showing up for this summit is amazing because you're getting all of this wisdom from all of us who have done all of this work. Linda Dirk said, so glad to be with you, and Karen and Ruth that in beautiful California this morning. She said, beautiful ladies. And there was some comments about Debbie Ford's work since you brought it up, and that a lot of us like that and enjoyed her work too. The shadow. I think what you're talking about is so important because I've spent so much time myself just not wanting to accept the shadow. I think more of us need to understand that it is something that plays a role in our growth. I liked what you said about what you are not changing, you're choosing. That was profound.
Yes.
Linda Dirk says, so many important points. You shine and stand out when you are open and vulnerable and a true leader. You say, I've been there too. So that was, I agree with all of these, but I think that it would be important for you to go on and read all of these and make comments back to people because you're, you know, people, what you're saying is resonating with people.
Thank you. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Karen, I just want to thank you for, you always come to the table and just share who you are in any situation that we're in. And it gives us all that framework of being okay, just coming to the table exactly as we are. So thank you. I appreciate that.
And thank you, Ruth, for all that you're doing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it is timely. Absolutely. To, you know, connecting those threads, as I said in the earlier interview, and making quite a beautiful, beautiful picture. So thank you.
Well, and it's fun for me to remember that Archangel Michael chose every single one of these speakers. So there is a very specific reason that each one has been here, and a very specific population of folks that you're touching their hearts.
Thank you.
So
thank you so much. It's an honor. It's an honor.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for the women and men that you are touching their hearts today and whenever they watch this video.
Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too. Very. So, all right, we're going to say goodbye to our friends on Facebook. Karen, stay on here with us. And for all of you out there in Facebook world, have a fabulous day. We love you all. You take care.
Okay.